All right, let's start with some basic things with regards to wines first off. And I actually bought this, you'll see in a minute. Let's look at why we purchase wines. Now, you may have some favorites that you've had before, some that you really, like you're gung-ho on. I picked a lot of wines today that I've never had before. So when I taste it today, I'm also going to be looking for something other than what I've been used to. Let's look at the label, okay? This one here is called the Big House Slammer. The label tells us an awful lot. There are certain requirements, as the text has shown you, as far as what we need to include. In the United States, we're a lot stricter as far as what we need to put on there. The big difference is, again, this refers to your text, is that in France and in Germany and Italy, they not only control what's on the label, but what's in the bottle. And that's really the difference. You can actually pick up a bottle of French or German wine. I don't have any of that here. And you can look at the label, and it'll actually, by looking at it, and if you know the LOC or the appellation control, it'll tell you the grade. Like, for example, in German wine, Qualitats wine actually just means quality wine. And really what that means is table wine. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the lowest of low, but it's just basic drinking wine. That's all it is. Then you have Qualitats Mitpredikat, which is quality wine with special attributes. You know, that's another step up. And then you have one more step, and I never can pronounce it, that's a German wine, and that's the top grade. And the same thing with the French and the Italians. So they do control that. They also control where the wine comes from and the amount of grape, the specific type of grape that goes into that bottle. Here in the United States, we have an open market. You know, we're a very open market, but which is good and bad. You know, the label doesn't tell us as much, but we still can determine it by tasting it, and that's really what it's all about, tasting it. You know, that's truly you know what we go through. All right, let's talk about the temperature now. I grew up. I'm Italian, and I grew up drinking. Hi, how are you? Have a seat. I grew up drinking what I call Dago Red, and my grandparents made red wine, but my red wine, it was always refrigerated. It was always on ice. If it wasn't on ice, it would spoil in about 2 days. You know, it had no preservative whatsoever in it, and if you didn't drink it within 30 days, even if it was refrigerated, it, you know, really wasn't drinkable, not at all. So I grew up with drinking Dago Red. My grandfather sitting next to him at the head of the table, of course, with a big jug right here. He'd pick it up like this. You know, as a kid, you had little glasses, and then we'd enjoy it. We always thought we got drunk. You know, we had probably this much, and we always thought we were blasted. So that was my introduction to wine, which was great. So I remember the first time I went out on a date when I ordered a bottle of red wine, and I said to the server, you know, what an idiot I was. I said, "Hey, this wine's warm." The guy looked at me like, "Yeah, so?" And you know, of course, he knew that I didn't know anything about wine at that point. He said, "Well, that's how we serve red wine, Mr. Spasiano." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I pretended like I, made a mistake and, didn't say much. But that's how I was brought up. So there's the difference. To this day, folks, I still like my red a bit chilled. I don't like it at 42 degrees, but I like it in the 50s. So this wine today is going to be almost, not room temperature, of course, but it's going to be in the 50s or 60s because I just took it out. All right? Talk about storing these wines. Typically what you want to do with reds and whites right here. By the way, when it comes to serving red wine or champagne, you do not need to keep it refrigerated. You refrigerate it an hour or two before you're going to serve it. Okay? Of course, when you go to a liquor store, the white wine, other than what's in the cooler, is on the shelves. So you don't need to keep it refrigerated to keep it from being corked. Same thing with the champagne. And when you do chill it, what you want to do is you want to put it in a bucket with ice, fill that bucket with water so the ice surrounds the bottle. All right? That's typically when you see a wine, when wine or champagne is served in a bucket, a good server would not only put ice in there, but also put water in there to go with it. All right? Okay, so the temperature. These are online. This is online. I'm going to pass these out for you. Take one and pass them down if you wouldn't mind. But you can just make a hard copy for this online. I just did this so you don't have to worry about taking any notes today, obviously. And here it says the full body reds should be anywhere from 68 to 58 degrees. Okay, somewhere in that. I think that's a little high. Chambray, which is a French word, and that actually means room temperature. Now, room temperature is anywhere in that neighborhood, but you'll hear that term, especially from the French. When you're using a particular type of wine or any kind of wine, you always want to use a glass that's uncut. Clear, white glass like this, uncut. Okay? And talk about the vehicle in which we serve our product. That's very important. You wouldn't want to serve a $45 bottle of wine in a sidecar kind of a glass, right? Or you wouldn't want to serve a $45 bottle of wine in that plastic cup that's sitting there. You know, obviously that doesn't work either. So it's very important to use the right quality of glass. Now, these are fairly good wine glasses. This is what I call a universal wine glass. You could serve a white or red in this, a Chablis, a Rosé. You know, really it's well suited. But there are so many different types of wine glasses out there and quality of glass. Riedel, or depending if you're German, it's Riedel, is probably the most recognized name for wine glasses. And it can be, you know, you can get many different varieties. A lot of them cost anywhere from $20 and up per glass. But if I'm drinking a high-end wine or champagne, I'm going to want it served in something that is appropriate. Very important. And if you notice, in a lot of restaurants, you know, I should have brought those Chablis glass from Lombardo's. A lot of restaurants now are using Chablis glasses. Just imagine this glass without the stem, okay, which is nice. It's a nice way to serve Chablis or Chardonnay or any kind of a white chilled wine. You know, real nice way of serving it. I like it. I like it a lot. When we pull the cork out of the wine, of course, you want to be sure that you smell the cork, making sure the cork is okay. You'll see a sommelier in a restaurant that will present it to the host or the person ordering the wine. When they do that, they're smelling it, they're making sure it's okay. A lot of times, and you'll see this in your notes, on the cork you'll see a little crystals. Okay, and if you do that, doesn't, you know, don't say, oh, that wine's bad. You know, it's just crystallized. No, it's really not the case. Where you don't want that is in the wine itself. And of course, that's when you decant the wine, and we'll show you a little bit of that a little bit later. You sure as hell don't want all of that material in your wine, specifically when you're drinking it. Okay, so be careful of that. All right, we're going to talk about swirling our glass when we do just that. One of the reasons why we do this at 10 in the morning is you don't want to eat a lot before you taste wine. And for those of you that had coffee, if you can drink a little water first, you might want to do that, only because you want to clean your palates as best you can. What we don't do is once we start tasting wine, we don't introduce water again. You want to keep those, you know, those flavors in your mouth from wine to wine to wine to wine. Since we're doing a lot of reds today, you know, you'll find that to be the easiest thing to do. Okay? All right. We're going to talk about how we sip the wine and exactly how it coats our mouth, the aromas, the bouquets that are going to be present. And we're going to try to identify as much as we can in the wine itself. And like I said, I've picked some wines today, most of these that I haven't had before, just so you know, I can also be a guinea pig here and see you know, what we can pick up on, okay? One of the things that I haven't done, although I'm starting to do now, is, and I suggest that any of you do this that are going out to try new wines, is to keep a diary. You know, keep a little something anywhere, you know, on your phone, anywhere you can do it, of your wines, because there's so many wines that I've had, especially in the past 10 years, that I'm so sorry that I didn't record the year, the vintage, and so on, because I'd say, oh, you know, I remember that wine I had over at Tempo. That was a great wine. Oh, what year was that? And, you know, and of course, you know, then you have too much wine and you don't remember anything anyways, let alone the, you know, the year of the wine itself. So I strongly recommend that if you have an opportunity to do just that, you know, keep a diary. You don't have to, you know, carry it with you, but just so you have it. All right? We're going to talk about the smells and the aromas and the bouquet and aroma. Just keep in mind when we refer to bouquet or aroma in a wine, an aroma for a wine basically is when you're describing a young wine. All right? When they use the term bouquet, you're referring to a wine that is older wine, been aged a little bit longer. And I'll talk about old and new. You're talking about the old country wines and old world wines and new world wines. Old world refers to European wines. New world, really, we're in that category. Australia's in that category. Africa's in that category. We're the new world.